Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. Smackdown tonight was from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois, Chicago. And Smackdown tonight, I thought it was a decent show in my opinion. Of course, tonight we had the debut of Rey Fenix, which great to see Rey Fenix make his debut on WWE television. And he had taken on one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions in Nathan Frazer. We also had LA Knight in action, and he had taken on Tama Tonga. We had the Motor City Machine Guns. They had taken on DIY, of course, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. And this was a number one contenders match who will face, to face the Street Profits for the Tag Team Championship. So we saw that match again with Motor City Machine Guns and DIY. We had Naomi versus B-Fab, like anyone cared. And we had a last man standing match. Fatu versus Braun Strowman. And of course, we had news about Kevin Owens, which I will get to explaining as I go into that segment. But overall, SmackDown, decent show it was tonight. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. SmackDown opened up tonight with CM Punk. CM Punk came out, got a big reaction in his hometown. And we all knew that CM Punk was going to open the show tonight because, of course, it's in his hometown of Chicago. So we had Punk end up, getting on the barricade. He celebrated with the fans there. And he got into the ring. Fans were chanting, CM Punk. And he got on the mic. He began to tell the fans that he doesn't know where to begin. But they told him that the best television audiences were overseas. Punk kept saying that he knew they were coming to Chicago, which that got a ovation from the crowd. So then Punk ended up grabbing the camera from Rico, who was the cameraman. So Punk grabbed the camera, and Punk ended up, shooting the crowd. And it got a loud chant from the crowd of CM Punk. And this, kind of, gave me memories of when The Rock took the camera before Royal Rumble 2002, where he was in the ring, and he told the cameraman, give The Rock the camera. And then Rock took the camera, and he started filming the crowd, and then he filmed the cameraman. He was like, who do you think is going to win the Royal Rumble? That's kind of what this reminded me of with Punk here, where Punk took the camera. So Punk ended up telling the fans that's why they don't listen to outside voices. He ended up going to say that a little fact is that he is not supposed to be here. He ended up saying that he was born in Silver Cross Hospital with a cord around his neck. And he was born blue, and they had to bring him back to life. Punk ended up saying that every time he comes out, no matter the city, he aims to make new fans. He ended up saying to excuse him tonight because his aim is to thank the 16,000 in attendance tonight. So there were 16,000 fans there at Allstate Arena tonight for SmackDown. So Punk ended up saying when they tell him that he's not supposed to be here, he asks, who's going to get him to leave? Punk ended up saying that nothing has changed, but he is in the main event of WrestleMania. So the crowd ended up chanting, you deserve it to Punk. So Punk ended up asking if he deserves it. He ended up saying that he has earned it. He wanted to say that he studied in the backyards of Chicago. he trained, and he signed a contract with WWE. And they said that he wasn't supposed to be here. Punk ended up saying to him, that's when the hard work began, and he appreciates people congratulating him. He then went on to say that the hard work begins now. Punk went on to say that he is a product of Chicago, and that he ends up thanking everyone. He even thanked his wife, April. Of course, AJ Lee, AJ Mendez now, which that got a chant of AJ Lee from the crowd. He then ended up going on to thank his dog, Larry, which, yeah, we got a Larry chant from the crowd. Punk ended up saying that there are too many people to thank, and he would not be who he is or where he is at without this city. He ended up saying now the hard work begins because he has a date at WrestleMania, and he promises that he is going to whip Seth's ass, and he's going to put a beating on the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, in the main event of WrestleMania. So then Paul Heyman came out. Paul Heyman did his whole shtick, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. Heyman ended up going to say that he apologized for being late. He ended up calling Punk his best friend in the world, and also the best in the world. So Paul Heyman then got into the ring, and the fans started chanting ECW for Paul Heyman. So Paul Heyman ended up saying to ask what your wise man can do for you to Punk. Heyman ended up telling Punk that he belongs here, in the ring, in Chicago, and also in the main event of WrestleMania. Paul Heyman ended up saying to Punk that the last time they were standing in the ring, the bloodline was breathing down his neck. And the next week, they put him through a table inside Madison Square Garden. He ended up saying after that, Punk had a Hell in a Cell match with Drew McIntyre, and that Punk was contemplating never coming back. But Paul Heyman ended up saying that he pleaded with Punk and told him he needs someone at War Games for Roman Reigns and to do him a favor. He ended up saying that Punk did him that favor, and he saved him, and he saved the match and the bloodline. So Paul Heyman ended up thanking Punk. He ended up telling Punk that he has one more favor to ask of him. So Punk was like to Heyman, what is it? What is the favor? Heyman tells Punk to tell him what the favor he owes him is because Roman will be here and that he is already pissed off. And he doesn't know what happens when Roman gets angry. So Punk asks Paul Heyman if Roman is not there. And Paul Heyman ended up saying, not yet. Punk ended up saying that as much as he thinks the favor is none of Roman's business, it will affect him. And that is why he will tell Paul Heyman what the favor is when Roman arrives. And he will tell them both. So Punk then dropped the mic, and he ended up leaving the ring. And that was pretty much basically how the segment ended. But overall, this was a very good segment to open SmackDown tonight. And also later on, they did reveal the favor. So, good segment from Punk and also Paul Heyman. And then we had the first match of the night. Nathan Frazer. He ended up taking on the WWE debut of Rey Fenix. So Rey Fenix is now a part of the SmackDown brand. Of course, his brother Penta is on Monday Night Raw, and Penta's doing, good on Monday Night Raw, being a singles competitor. But my prediction is, when we see the Lucha Brothers together again, it will have to happen in a draft when WWE does their next draft. So that is in my prediction when we see the Lucha Brothers back together with Fenix and Penta. So this was a good match here. I really like the presentation of Rey Fenix where the lights end up going out, flashing lights were done for Fenix. Pyro went off behind him, and Fenix got a big pop there in Chicago for his debut. But really like Rey Fenix, especially the matches that he had when he was part of AEW. Nathan Frazer is good in the ring. I really enjoy him and Axiom. I think they're a good tag team down in NXT because they are the NXT tag team champions. But originally, I heard that it was rumored that Rey Fenix, for his debut, that his opponent was going to be Andrade. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But the match got underway. Frazer locked in the armbar on Fenix, but Fenix ended up doing a reversal. Fenix ended up delivering a spinning kick to the side of Frazer's head. Fenix ended up going for the cover. Frazer ended up kicking out. Fenix ended up delivering a hurricanrana into a cover to Frazer, but Frazer ended up kicking out. And the match started out, very fast paced, which was good. Fenix then ended up grabbing Frazer, but Frazer threw Fenix to the outside. Frazer ended up going for a suicide dive, but Frazer's foot got caught on the rope, which that was a botch there. And Fenix ended up catching Frazer. Fenix then climbed to the top rope, and he hit a spinning corkscrew onto Frazer, which that looked really good. And I like on the replay, the camera shot of Fenix doing that spinning corkscrew to Frazer to the outside. I thought that was a nice camera angle on the replay that they showed. So then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Fenix ended up pushing Nathan off the top rope, but Nathan Frazer ended up landing on his feet, and he jumped back onto the top rope. And Nathan Frazer ended up delivering a superplex to Rey Fenix off the top. So we had Nathan end up going for the cover, and Fenix ended up kicking out. And there was a pop from the crowd of "Let's Go Phoenix" chants. We had Nathan Frazer end up delivering a knee to Phoenix's face. Nathan Frazer ended up going for a suplex, but Phoenix ended up landing on his feet, and he ended up landing a drop kick to Nathan Frazer. Frazer ended up leaning on the top rope. Phoenix then climbed to the top rope. He walked across the rope, and he ended up kicking Nathan Frazer in the face. Phoenix then delivered a fire driver to Nathan Frazer. He went for the cover, and Frazer ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we have Phoenix end up delivering a super kick to Frazer. He placed Frazer on the top rope. Phoenix ended up delivering the muscle buster to Nathan Frazer. Phoenix ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Rey Fenix ended up winning the match, winning his WWE debut on SmackDown. Post-match, Byron Saxton got into the ring, and he interviewed Rey Fenix. Fenix then spoke in Spanish, and he thanked Chicago. Fenix ended up saying that he has a lot of history in Chicago with everyone. He ended up saying tonight is not the debut of Rey Fenix. Tonight is so much more. He ended up saying tonight he is rewarded with love, passion, with rage. He ended up saying that he waited his whole life to say this. And he ended up saying, I am WWE Animal. So there you go. That was what Rey Fenix had to say. But Rey Fenix, he's going to have a pretty good push here on SmackDown. And, it will be a joy in the future when WWE does the next draft, where we get Fenix and Penta back together, and we see the Lucha Brothers on WWE television together. So, but very good debut match here for Rey Fenix. Then we saw Legado del Fantasma and Santos Escobar. So Santos Escobar ended up telling Angel and Berto that is a great debut and the kind of performance he expects from both Angel and Berto. So Angel and Berto end up looking at Escobar in disagreement. Escobar ended up telling Angel and Berto that he likes their fire. He ended up saying that he will speak with Nick Aldis to have a match. So it'll probably be Rey Fenix against maybe Berto or Santos Escobar. Who knows? So that was basically that. And then we saw a promo from Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre was shown wearing an eye patch. And he was talking about Damian Priest and how no one cares about Priest unless he is feeding off of his scraps, off of McIntyre's scraps. McIntyre ended up asking Priest to explain to him why he is wrong and to fight him like a man. He ended up saying, but Priest did what he always does. He attacked like a vulture. McIntyre ended up saying that Priest put him through a windshield, and he could live through his back hurting while flying across the Atlantic. McIntyre ended up saying that Priest needs to pray, and when McIntyre prays, bad things happen. So that was what Drew McIntyre had to say. Of course, McIntyre wearing the eye patch because Priest ended up chokeslamming McIntyre on the windshield, and the windshield cracked. So that was what happened last week on SmackDown. And then we saw Byron Saxton. He was backstage with Braun Strowman. Strowman ended up telling Byron Saxton that he has enough of Jacob Fatu getting involved in his business. He ended up saying tonight he will keep him down, and he will go to WrestleMania and complete his Grand Slam. So in came Sikoa and Tama. And in came LA Knight. LA Knight ended up telling Strowman not to waste his time with Sikoa, and for Strowman to keep his eyes on the prize. Sikoa ended up telling him that he has a lot of balls to come and speak to him like that. Tama then ended up telling Knight that he should be worried about him tonight. And Knight ended up telling Tonga that he will make a lot of noise tonight because he will be stomping him out. So Knight began to walk to the ring. He ended up going through gorilla position onto the stage. And so that was basically that. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had LA Knight versus Tama, which this was a decent match here. Tama, of course, was accompanied by Sikoa. So the match got underway. Knight delivered some right hands to Tonga. He threw Tonga to the ropes. He ended up hitting Tonga with an elbow to his face. Knight then suplexed Tonga, and he ended up grabbing Tonga. Tonga ended up tripping Knight up, and Knight ended up falling face first onto the turnbuckle. Tonga delivered a backdrop to Knight. He ended up going for the cover, and Knight kicked out. Tama went to the ropes, and Knight delivered a big boot to Tama, and he threw him into the corner. Knight was then shown stomping on Tonga in the corner, and Knight ended up landing a running knee to Tonga's face, to which Tonga rolled to the outside to take a breather. Knight then delivered a modified baseball slide as he took Tama down. Knight then slammed Tonga's face onto the commentary table, and he ended up sending Tonga back into the ring. Knight then got on the ring apron, as did Sikoa. Sikoa ended up distracting Knight, which that led to Tama taking advantage of the distraction as he pushed Knight off the ring apron, and Knight ended up landing face first onto the commentary table. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Knight was in control of the match. He delivered a shoulder tackle to Tama, which he followed up with a sunset flip cover onto Tama, but Tonga ended up kicking out. Tama ended up getting back up, and he delivered a clothesline to Knight. Tonga then delivered a suplex to Knight. He ended up going for the cover, and Knight ended up kicking out. So later on, we had Knight end up going for the BFT, the blunt force trauma, but Tama Tonga ended up pushing Knight to the ropes, and Tama Tonga then distracted the referee. Sikoa then got on the ring apron. Knight ended up pushing Sikoa down. Tama Tonga then grabbed Knight, but Knight ended up coming back, and he landed the blunt force trauma, the BFT, onto Tama Tonga. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. LA Knight ended up winning the match. Overall, decent match it was between Knight and Tama Tonga. And then we saw Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was standing in the arena entranceway in the parking garage, and then came Byron Saxton. So Paul Heyman started to speak to Byron, but he ended up stopping. Paul Heyman then grabbed the camera. He ended up saying that no matter what the favor is, his answer is yes. So then we saw a car was being shown arriving to the arena. Paul Heyman ended up telling CM Punk, anything you want. The answer is yes. So Paul Heyman ended up yelling, my tribal chief, you have arrived in Chicago. So Paul Heyman ended up thinking that Roman Reigns was in the car. But Paul Heyman did not get Roman Reigns yet. He got Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins came out of the car. Rollins walked up to Paul Heyman. He ended up telling him to cheer up, and that he was probably expecting the other Shield guy in Roman Reigns. Seth ended up telling Paul Heyman, oh, you look awful. So Seth ended up saying that he has had a great week once he got away from this whole stuff with CM Punk. He ended up saying that he was able to gain some perspective and formulate a plan. Rollins ended up telling Heyman that this favorite thing, he really dug himself into a hole. And Rollins ended up saying that it affects him too, and that when Roman does arrive, to let him know, because he wants to be present to hear what the favor is too. So then Rollins ended up walking away, and pretty much that was basically that. So Rollins also wanted in on what this favor, could be. And then we had Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair were in the ring, and Wade Barrett was also in there. Wade Barrett ended up introducing Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. So Tiffany Stratton got some cheers from the crowd. Charlotte ended up getting boos from the crowd, and the boos from the crowd were go away heat boos. You could tell. So Tiffany ended up asking the fans, what time is it? And the fans ended up yelling, Tiffy time. So Wade Barrett ended up asking Charlotte why she chose Tiffany for WrestleMania, and if she still thinks this was the wise choice. So Charlotte ended up saying that Stratton was begging, and there she was. So we had the fans end up booing Charlotte. Charlotte ended up saying that she did make the right choice, because she wanted to make the smartest wrestling fans in the world here in Chicago that there is no comparison. Stratton ended up asking Charlotte if she is done. And she ended up telling Charlotte that her biggest competitor has been the fans. And no matter what, this is a battle that Charlotte will never win. Stratton ended up saying that Charlotte likes to pretend like nothing bothers her, but she goes on crying on some boohoo talk show. Stratton ended up saying that Charlotte can break all the records, but when it is all said and done, she will still come second to her father, of course, Ric Flair. And Stratton ended up saying that at WrestleMania, Charlotte will come second to her. So then Charlotte began to speak, and the fans were just booing Charlotte. And Stratton ended up saying that this is power. Charlotte ended up telling the fans to hold on. Charlotte ended up telling Stratton that she just repeated what her opponents of the last 10 years have said. So Charlotte began to speak, and the fans booed again. The boos got louder as Charlotte was talking. Nobody wanted to hear Charlotte speak. Strand ended up asking Charlotte if the cat has got her tongue. And Charlotte ended up asking the fans what they would like for her to say. Charlotte then ended up telling Tiffany that she can have the last word. So Strand ended up telling Charlotte that at 25 years old, Charlotte was trying to be a volleyball player, drinking in her daddy's basement. Strand, on the other hand, she said, at 25 years old, she's walking into WrestleMania as the women's champion. Charlotte ended up saying that this is just another match, but it looks like Strand got to her, and her WrestleMania record may be 4-3, but outside of the ring, she isn't the queen of shit. So Strand ended up calling Charlotte a Nepo baby. And Charlotte ended up saying to Strand that she is a Nepo queen. Strand ended up telling Charlotte that when she beats her at WrestleMania, she will be just like she is outside of the ring, alone. So Charlotte ended up asking Strand if that's why Kaiser is in her DMs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kaiser is not in your DMs, Charlotte. And pretty much that was basically that. Overall, what a horrendous, awful, cringe-inducing segment this was. Awful. It was like nails on a chalkboard, hearing Charlotte scream. And then we had Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis was backstage, and he ended up announcing that in conjunction with Adam Pearce, there will be a women's tag team gauntlet match, and the winners of that gauntlet match will face Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the women's tag team championship at WrestleMania. And I'm like, do I care? No. Whenever WWE does a gauntlet match, it tells you that they have nothing booked for the show next week, and they're just being lazy. Just giving us a gauntlet match. Talk about fucking laziness. Absolutely lazy. Hey, who asked for this? And then we had Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa. Number one contenders match. The winners will get to face the Street Profits for the tag team championships. And how many times have we seen Motor City Machine Guns and DIY go at it? It's the same shit. Street Profits were at ringside for the match. They were watching it. Match got out of the way. We had Chris Sabin and Johnny Gargano starting off the match. Chris Sabin delivered arm drag to Gargano, and Ciampa was then tagged in. Chris Sabin ended up delivering an arm drag to Ciampa. Alex Shelley ended up tagging in. Shelley ended up climbing up to the top rope, and he landed a double axe handle onto Ciampa. So both Motor City Machine Guns ended up throwing Ciampa into the ropes, and they took him down with the double shoulder tackle. Gargano and also the Motor City Machine Guns ended up clotheslining them both. So Alex Shelley ended up getting Ciampa in the corner. He ended up hitting Ciampa with some right hands, and he clotheslined Ciampa to the outside. Alex Shelley ended up chasing Ciampa around the ring, and he ended up chasing Ciampa back into the ring. Gargano was then tagged in, and he landed a slingshot spear onto Alex Shelley as he got back into the ring. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Chris Sabin delivered a crossbody onto both Gargano and Ciampa. So Chris Sabin delivered a suicide dive through Alex Shelley's legs, taking both DIY down. So at the end of the match, we had Ciampa ended up running towards Chris Sabin, but Sabin moved out of the way, and Ciampa ended up hitting the exposed turnbuckle. Because apparently Chris Sabin was tagged in, he climbed up the top rope, Gargano ended up tripping Chris Sabin, and the ref was distracted, and that led to the turnbuckle being exposed. So with Ciampa hitting the exposed turnbuckle, we had Chris Sabin end up going for the cover, and there you go. The Motor City Machine Guns ended up winning the match, so they are the number one contenders for the Street Profits tag team titles. So they will face the Profits for the titles. But overall, we saw Motor City Machine Guns and DIY before. Same shit, but overall, it was a decent match. And then we saw The Miz and Carmelo Hayes backstage. And I can't believe they have Carmelo Hayes paired with The Miz. God. Carmelo Hayes is better than being paired with The Miz. So Miz and Carmelo Hayes end up stopping in front of Pretty Deadly, to which The Miz end up calling them pretty useless, which I agree with him on that. What is with this big push for Pretty Deadly? They are absolutely awful. Horrendous. So Carmelo Hayes ended up asking Pretty Deadly if they are a tag team or the Chicago Bears. To which Elton Prince and Kit Wilson were like, Miz and Carmelo Hayes, oh, they got jokes. Oh, we got the Marine 3, Marine 4, Marine 5. So the Miz ended up saying that at least the Marine was made. And next, he ended up asking Pretty Deadly how the musical is. Pretty Deadly ended up telling the Miz that they just finished one about someone who has not been relevant in 10 years. So the Miz and Pretty Deadly began to argue. They ended up asking Carmelo Hayes why he is happy to be regulated, to be in with the Miz. Carmelo Hayes ended up telling them that Pretty Deadly couldn't beat them on their best day. And pretty much that was basically that. So we're going to get Pretty Deadly versus The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. Talk about fucking boring. Now we got B-Fab versus Naomi. Who gives a shit? So apparently B-Fab was in the ring. Naomi ended up coming out, but she was attacked by Jade Cargill from behind. Security ended up stopping Jade Cargill. So Naomi got into the ring. The match ended up getting underway. Pretty much nothing great happened in this match. Naomi pulled B-Fab's face into her knee to deliver a lung blower to B-Fab. Naomi went for the cover. And there you go. Naomi won the match. Post-match, Naomi got on the mic. She ended up asking Jade Cargill where she is at, because she's still standing. Naomi then turned around, and Jade Cargill got into the ring. She ended up delivering a big boot to Naomi. So Jade Cargill ended up grabbing Naomi, but security ended up coming in to break things up between them. Jade ended up throwing the security out of the ring, and this led to Nick Aldis coming out. Nick Aldis ended up saying that he has enough of this. He ended up saying that there is only one solution. So Nick Aldis ended up making the match for Naomi and Jade Cargill. They will be going one-on-one at WrestleMania. So there you go. That is that. Match is confirmed. And then we had a promo from Damian Priest. Damian Priest ended up telling McIntyre that he did his job by cashing in at WrestleMania, and that McIntyre screwed himself. He ended up saying that at Clash at the Castle, it should have been them, but his obsession with Punk came back and cost him the match. Priest ended up saying that at Money in the Bank, he tried to cash in, but his baggage cost him. He ended up telling McIntyre that at the Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, he eliminated him from both. But then after that, McIntyre attacked him like a coward. Priest then ended up calling McIntyre a hypocrite because he always bitches and complains. Priest then ended up telling McIntyre that he is a junkie and he gets off on a high by making jokes every week. He then ended up telling McIntyre that he is his villain and his time to pray is now. Priest ended up saying to McIntyre to look for him in the middle of the ring, face to face and eye to eye. He ended up saying that he wants McIntyre to stop playing the victim and become his victim at WrestleMania. So, pretty good promo from Priest there. And It's going to be Priest versus McIntyre, come WrestleMania. And then we had Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis was in the ring. He kept saying that this is the part of his job that is not very fun. He kept saying, in this industry, there is a fine line between coming back next week and finding out that you may never step foot in the ring again. He kept saying that it is a cliche, but there is a reason why they say, don't try this at home. Aldis ended up saying that he doesn't want to say much more because he would rather we hear it from the man himself. So he ended up introducing Kevin Owens to the ring. Kevin Owens ended up coming out, and he was wearing a Bret Hart jacket. Very nice Bret Hart jacket there. So Kevin Owens ended up coming out. He got on the mic. He kept saying that he has been doing this for 25 years. And he thinks he can confidently say that for 25 years, he gave everything he had. He kept saying because of this industry, he has been able to take care of his family in ways he can only dream of. Owens ended up saying that there is a price to pay for that amazing opportunity, and that is the toll it takes on their bodies. He kept saying every guy and girl in the back has paid that price, and now it seems like it is his turn. He kept saying for the last 4 months, he has been dealing with a pretty serious neck injury. But this week, they figured it out, and now he has to go get neck surgery. Owens ended up saying that this is what he will do, and the timing could not be worse, because not getting to be in the ring with Randy Orton at WrestleMania really sucks. Owens ended up saying that he is really thankful for WWE to allow him to come out and say all this, because the truth is that he does not know when he will be in front of the fans ever again. Owens ended up saying what he does know is the last few years he has learned not to take anything for granted, and he will never take this for granted. And he ended up saying for now, he wants to say thank you, and he is sorry. So then Kevin Owens ended up shaking Nick Aldis' hand. He dropped the mic, and as he was about to leave, Randy Orton came out. Randy Orton walked down, and he looked all confused. Kevin Owens was standing on the ring apron. Orton walked up to the ring steps and onto the ring apron. Both Orton and Owens ended up looking at each other. Owens then left the ring. Orton then got into the ring. And we had Nick Aldis ended up telling Orton that he hates to be the one to tell him this. But that means Randy Orton does not have a match at WrestleMania. Orton then ended up hitting Nick Aldis with an RKO. And pretty much that was basically that. But there you go. Kevin Owens, he has to have neck surgery. He will not be at WrestleMania 41. He is missing WrestleMania. Who knows when he will be competing in the ring again. Hopefully it's not that serious. And as for Randy Orton, I think they have a match for Orton at WrestleMania. Randy Orton is not missing WrestleMania. WWE, I think, has a match for Randy Orton and for him to do something at WrestleMania. And then we had Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman. This was the last man standing match. The winner will be the number one contender to face LA Knight for the United States Championship. And this was a good match here. So as Braun Strowman was walking down to the ring, Jacob Fatu ran down and he attacked Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman came back and he delivered some right hands and he threw Jacob Fatu into the ring. Strowman then got into the ring. Jacob Fatu delivered a super kick to Strowman. Fatu ended up climbing the second rope, but Strowman tripped Fatu up. Strowman then grabbed Fatu, but Fatu ended up landing on his feet, and he had pinned Strowman with a super kick. Fatu then followed up that super kick with a spinning elbow to Strowman. Fatu then ended up delivering a jump-up moonsault to Strowman. Fatu ended up landing another jump-up moonsault, and the ref began to count. So Strowman ended up rolling to the outside of the ring, and he landed on his feet. So then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Strowman ended up grabbing a table from under the ring. Strowman then ended up sliding the table into the ring, and he had pinned Fatu with a right hand. Strowman then ended up leading the table into one of the corners. And Fatu ended up hitting Strowman with a super kick. Fatu ended up turning back, and he ran towards Strowman. But Strowman ended up hitting Fatu with a big boot. Strowman then ended up running towards Fatu, but Fatu ended up blowing the top rope, and Strowman ended up falling to the outside, and he landed on his feet. We had Strowman end up delivering the Strowman Express to Jacob Fatu through the barricade, and both men were down. So, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, both Strowman and Fatu were fighting in the arena, and they were fighting between the fans. And both guys were standing on top of a crate. And Strowman ended up suplexing Fatu through a table down to the concrete, which that suplex, was crazy. So at the end of the match, we had Strowman end up getting up. Fatu ended up hitting Strowman with a run hip attack through the table. So the ref began the 10 count. Fatu ended up getting up at 9, and Strowman was down as the ref counted 10. So there you go. Jacob Fatu ended up winning the last man standing match. So now he is the number 1 contender to face LA Knight for the United States Championship. But overall, good match this was. Last man standing match between Fatu and Strowman. And as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw a SUV pulling into the arena. Out stepped the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, who was very angry. And he walked past Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns continued his walk toward the ring with Paul Heyman behind him. Of course, Roman did, his usual entrance. So he ended up extending his hand. And Paul Heyman ended up giving Roman the mic. Roman then got on the mic. He ended up telling Chicago to acknowledge him. To which the crowd ended up popping for that. They were chanting OTC. So Roman ended up asking Paul Heyman, is he here? And Paul Heyman responded to Roman saying that he is. Of course, Roman was asking about CM Punk. So Roman ended up saying that's exactly who he is talking about because the fans were chanting for Punk. And Roman ended up asking Paul Heyman if Punk is still talking about the favor. Paul Heyman ended up telling Reigns that he is. Roman ended up telling Chicago that he doesn't know how they deal with him. He ended up asking Paul Heyman if he should share a secret with Chicago. And Paul Heyman ended up saying to Roman, yeah, share the secret. Roman ended up saying that CM Punk would not be back if it wasn't for him. And that he would not be in the main event of WrestleMania if it wasn't for him. And Roman was like, oh, I get it. You are good people. He ended up saying that he is from the same city as them. He was talking about Punk and that they have to like him. And he ended up saying they mean well, but they are not that smart. Roman ended up saying that Punk has wrestled everyone, but he has never been in that main event of WrestleMania. Not until he was introduced by him, the tribal chief. So the fans started chanting OTC as Roman looked at the camera. And Roman ended up telling Punk that, oh, you hear the fans chanting for OTC in your own city. Roman ended up asking Punk to come out and tell him what the favor is. So Roman did not get CM Punk here. He got Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins came out, he got in the ring, and of course, fans are going, whoa. So Rollins ended up introducing himself. He did his whole shtick, I'm a visionary, I'm a revolutionary, I am Seth frickin' Rollins. So Seth ended up telling Roman that he would not miss this one for the world. He ended up saying that he does not know what the favor is, but the reality is that he has a feeling the reality will knock Roman's socks off. Rollins ended up saying, unlike everyone, Roman does not like to live in the real world. But every time Roman steps outside his little universe, reality bites him in the ass. Rollins ended up telling Roman that he does not want to do a little history lesson. He ended up saying, but example A, heist of the century. Example B, the main event of WrestleMania last year. Rollins ended up telling Roman the reality is that Roman underestimates Punk, and he thinks that he is above Punk, that if he ignores him, he will go away. Rollins ended up saying that he tried that, and it didn't work. He ended up saying that Punk is in the main event of WrestleMania, and that is a reality he has to live with. He ended up saying that he could have stopped it at War Games, but he didn't. And that he could have stopped it at the Garden, but he didn't. So Seth ended up telling Roman that he is in a much better place this week than he was last week. He ended up saying reality gives you two options. Either you suffer and get left behind, or you adapt and you control reality. So Roman ended up telling Rollins the reality is that he is untrustworthy. He ended up saying that he can say the word loyalty, but Seth has no clue what that means. He ended up saying that Punk stands there because he made a promise to the wise man, and he keeps his word. And Roman ended up saying that the reality is he didn't call Seth out here. He called Punk. So Seth ended up telling Roman that he is out here to hear from CM Punk. And Seth ended up saying that there is only one thing missing. And Seth ended up saying to find out what the favor is. So CM Punk ended up coming out. Punk got into the ring. He ended up saying, the favor. What's the favor? Punk ended up saying that this is about friendship, about legacy, about promises made and promises kept. He ended up saying this is about loyalty. Punk ended up saying that this goes back to Louisville, Kentucky. And they told Paul Heyman that he does not belong and to fire him. But Paul Heyman ended up saying no. So Punk ended up saying that he told Roman that his wise man is wise beyond his years. He ended up saying Paul Heyman spoke about it years ago. He ended up saying that on Big Show's bus, himself, Paul Heyman, Big Show, and RVD spoke about themselves. Punk ended up saying that they were going to fire him. And he told Paul Heyman not to leave. Punk ended up saying that Paul Heyman told him that he will be fine. And that when he main events WrestleMania, forced them to deal with us. Punk then ended up telling Roman that they are not here anymore, and he will force him out of his comfort zone. He will force him to deal with us. So CM Punk ended up telling Roman that at WrestleMania, in the main event, in his corner, his wise man, his best friend, Paul Heyman. So Roman was like to Punk, that's the favor? And then Roman started laughing. So Roman ended up telling Punk that Paul Heyman loves him and he needs him. Roman Reigns ended up saying that he saved Paul Heyman. Even if he lets him, Paul Heyman wouldn't. So Roman then started laughing. He ended up telling Paul Heyman to let this desperate fool down easy. Paul Heyman looked at Roman. Fans were chanting for CM Punk. Roman then looked at Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman ended up having tears in his eyes. So Roman was like, oh, you better tell Punk no. So Roman ended up telling Paul Heyman that he took him in and he made him relevant and to tell Punk no. Roman then ended up telling Paul Heyman that he will give him one more opportunity to tell Punk no. So Paul Heyman ended up looking down, and Paul Heyman looked like he didn't want to say, no, because, of course, CM Punk was a Paul Heyman guy. So Paul Heyman looked down. He kept saying, "No, my tribal chief, I can't do that." And Seth was shown laughing in the background. He was hysterical laughing at that. So Roman then grabbed Paul Heyman in the corner. Punk then ended up pinning Roman from behind, and he laid Roman out with the GTS. So this led to Punk and Rollins staring at each other. So Seth left the ring. Punk was shown standing in the ring with his music playing, and that was how SmackDown went off the air. Overall, I thought this was a very good segment to close SmackDown here. We got an answer of what the favor is that Punk, was saying. But this sparks, a little, oomph in the match, for Rollins, Punk, and Reigns at WrestleMania. But really enjoyed this closing segment. But overall, SmackDown, decent show it was tonight. But anyway, that's it for the SmackDown review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later.